When it comes to barrel saunas, everyone's got an opinion, and those opinions are deeply divided into two camps: people who love them and people who think they're a total disaster. Having never been in one previously, I didn't know what to think, so I built one and I used it so I could see for myself what the assembly process and the performance are actually like. I'm going to tell you what I learned about the 5 most common criticisms people make about barrel saunas and give you one bonus point at the end that made me seriously question whether or not I'd even offer them for sale at epicsauna.com. By the end, you'll know which criticisms are overblown, which are absolutely legit, and why, even though I've had great sessions in my barrel sauna, I still chose ultimately not to list them for sale at epicsauna.com. Let's start with the one you've probably heard most, which is cold feet, hot head. Now, there's some truth here. In a typical barrel sauna, if your feet are on the floor, they're going to feel noticeably cooler than your head. And in some cases, they might even feel cold. In any sauna, you ideally want as much of your body as possible in the highest 2/3 of the room. And that's just not possible in most barrel saunas. But here's the nuance. Until I'm at the point where I'm probably looking for some relief anyway at the end of a round, I usually just prop my feet up on the opposite bench. I'll speak more about the comfort of barrel sauna ergonomics in just a minute, but elevating my feet this way solves the cold feet problem for me. I find it's just the most comfortable way to sit anyway. But there is a trade-off. That position will take up bench space and will reduce how many people can comfortably fit in the sauna. So, is the criticism legit? Here's the bottom line. Yes, the physics are real. A single bench level means your head is in the hot air that's risen to the top 2/3 of the barrel, and your feet are in the pool of cooler air that's settled near the floor. But if you're comfortable propping your feet up on the opposite bench, and you have a sauna big enough to sacrifice some seating capacity, this problem's mostly manageable. Now, if you're the type of person who plans to have enough people over to max out your sauna's capacity regularly, then this should be a real consideration. But if you're going to be below max capacity most of the time, this shouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker. But on to criticism number 2. Barrel saunas force you into an uncomfortable sitting position. For context, this criticism is mainly based on the expectation that the concave wall will force you to lean your head forward when you're sitting back against the wall. But this is where details about the construction of your barrel sauna and your personal body size matter. If you buy a barrel sauna without a built-in ergonomic backrest, I'm just going to be honest with you. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're basically sitting against a hard curve with no support. And I'll tell you, sitting like a shrimp gets old fast. So here's my simple advice for everyone. Never buy a barrel sauna that doesn't come with a built-in ergonomic backrest. And brands like Sauna Life make a really comfortable one, and it makes all the difference. So if you've got a good backrest, I actually think a lot of the "they're so uncomfortable" talk is pretty overblown. But here's how your body size might completely change your experience. I'm 5'9", and at my height, assuming the sauna diameter is at least 6.5 feet, with a good backrest, I personally don't find the ergonomics of a barrel sauna worse than a flat wall sauna. However, your experience might be very different if you're significantly taller or shorter. If you're pushing 6'3", 6'4", or more, there may be a point where that 6.5 foot diameter starts to feel a lot more cramped and forces you to sit in an uncomfortable position. And here's something I never hear anyone else talking about. The guests of mine who found the barrel most uncomfortable were actually those on the shorter end of the spectrum, because most barrel saunas will have a bench height that's too high for your legs to reach the floor. This will leave your feet dangling, which puts lots of pressure on the back of your thighs if you lean forward at all. And you may not even have the option to prop your feet up on the opposite bench, because you might not be able to reach it comfortably, leaving your only comfortable sitting position is having your feet up somewhere on the bench you're sitting on. So here's how I'd summarize it. If it doesn't have a backrest, don't buy it. If it has a good backrest and your typical user's average height, it's fine. It's not amazing. It's not terrible. If you're tall, test one in person before you commit, because the ergonomics might not work for you. But if you're shorter than maybe 5'4" or so, I hope you like having your legs up on the bench you're sitting on, because you might not be able to reach either the floor or the opposite bench, leaving this as your only option. The third criticism I read a lot also deals with comfort and ergonomics, and that's that barrel saunas are claustrophobic. So let's break this down. If you have a barrel sauna with a diameter of 6.5 feet or more, in most cases, there's enough room for someone to shuffle past other people and get out without unloading the entire sauna. That's a big deal for usability. You don't want to reenact a clown car every time someone needs to step out. Now, there is an important exception. If you're at max capacity, the person sitting on either side of the heater will need to be fully up on the bench with their legs parallel to the benches. They likely won't have space to drop their feet down to the floor until other people move. So from that specific seat, clear exit routes are non-existent. But aside from that scenario, my guests and I never felt claustrophobic in the barrel that I built. That said, this is where personal sensitivity obviously really matters. If you're the type of person who always needs the aisle seat in an airplane, a barrel sauna is going to feel more claustrophobic than a traditional sauna with a different floor plan. So here's my take on the claustrophobia matter. With a big enough diameter, barrel saunas don't tend to feel that claustrophobic. But if you're sensitive to tight spaces, you should probably call dibs on the seat by the door. The fourth criticism is slightly misunderstood, and that's the claim that barrel saunas have uneven heat distribution front to back. My experience is that they're no better or worse than a rectangular sauna with similar dimensions, similar heater placement, and similar vent locations. Anytime you build a sauna with a long rectangular footprint, you'll get some uneven heat distribution between the person who's closest to the heater and the person who's furthest from it. Now, you can reduce this effect with strategic vent placement or by installing a special heater like any of the models made by Saunum, but that's the case whether the walls are straight or curved. So, is uneven heat a real thing? Yeah. Is it a barrel only problem? No. It's not some defect caused by the wall shape. It's a function of the length of the room, where the heater is, and how the vent locations drive air circulation. If you took a barrel sauna and compared it to a well-designed square sauna, the square one will always be better. But if you compare apples to apples in terms of dimensions and design, barrel shape alone is not the problem here. Now, for this next criticism, we're moving from complaints about the general user experience to complaints about the owner experience. And that's that barrel saunas leak. Here's my observation. If you build a barrel sauna without a waterproof roof kit, leaks are almost guaranteed. No matter how tight your staves are, if you don't add shingles or a metal roof, the top of that barrel is going to leak. It's not a question of if, it's when. So here's the most important rule when it comes to building a barrel sauna. Never build a barrel sauna without some kind of proper roof kit. I've seen people get around this by building a barrel sauna in a protected area, like under a pavilion or fully indoors. And these are fine solutions if you've got your heart set on a barrel, but at that point, you might want to ask yourself if a barrel is really the best option for your site conditions. So, to summarize, yeah, they're prone to leak without a roof kit, and that moisture may cause structural problems at some point in the future. The fifth and final complaint before my bonus point is one that's really big for me, and honestly, it's the main reason I always recommend other designs over the barrel sauna, and that's the claim that the maintenance required to keep a barrel sauna functional is not worth the reasons you want a barrel sauna instead of a more traditional design in the first place. Let's start with handling and storing the lumber before you even assemble it. With any sauna build, it's important to keep your wood building materials dry. But with a barrel, the design means that even minor shrinking of the staves as they dry can open up gaps between staves, which will invite leaks and structural issues. And if the gaps are small, you might get away with just tightening the bands, but if the gaps are big enough, tightening alone won't fix it. You'll find yourself being forced to add another stave, which means the original roofing material will also need to be removed and replaced. So not only are you partially rebuilding the top of the barrel, you're also buying new roofing, investing more time, and being forced to perform a level of maintenance that just doesn't exist in the same way with other designs. The fact that reputable barrel kits ship with extra staves is a pretty strong signal of how common this issue is. So, if after hearing all this, you still love the look and want a barrel sauna, here's the two things I'd insist on. One, keep the components dry until you build, and definitely don't let them get rained on. And two, assemble your sauna as soon as possible after delivery. Don't let the kit sit outside for weeks in a high humidity environment. The longer the wood sits, especially in humid climates, the more moisture is absorbed, the more the wood swells, and the more it'll shrink and leave gaps when it does eventually dry out. Even in the best case scenario, once it's built, you're not done. You'll want to tighten the straps every few months when the sauna is new, and at least once a year once it's fully acclimated to your site. Barrels should never be considered set it and forget it designs. Now, the bonus point I want to bring up is more a matter of clarifying a claim rather than responding to a criticism, and I don't see many people talking about it. And that's the claim that barrel saunas are fast and easy to assemble. So there is some truth here, but we need to be precise with setting expectations. It's undeniable that assembling a barrel sauna kit will be much quicker than building a sauna from scratch. Framing walls, dealing with insulation, sourcing and installing cladding and siding, roofing. So yeah, in terms of total time from buying materials to having a usable sauna, barrels will be faster. But this benefit's also available just by choosing a traditional cabin-style sauna kit. But here's the most important thing to note. When it comes to barrels, quick should not be confused with easy. Assembling a barrel sauna is simple conceptually, but the execution can be very unforgiving. The crux of the build is making sure your staves are perfectly perpendicular to the cradles when you start, and making sure each stave is perfectly aligned all the way around as you go, because any misalignment early in the process gets magnified by the time you're at the top. When I was building mine, I ran into two problems that didn't make for a fun puzzle to solve when I thought I was on the verge of having it all done. First, although I thought I was being extremely careful to have everything perfectly aligned and even, as I got closer to the top, I found that the groove mitered into the staves that the end walls are supposed to sit in was binding so much that I couldn't get it to seat properly. For the last few staves, I had used my circular saw and a chisel to widen that notch just enough to make it work without disassembling the whole thing. The next problem I ran into was that because of the slight misalignment, there was an uneven gap for the final stave to fill. So I had to measure the width of the gap at both ends of the sauna and custom rip the stave lengthwise at an angle to fill the gap. All this is to say that a barrel sauna should not be considered a stress-free job for somebody with zero construction or woodworking experience. And I didn't even mention the task of cutting an oval hole in the top to accommodate a stovepipe. So yeah, quicker than a full custom build? Absolutely. Easy for someone without a lot of construction experience? Not necessarily. If you don't have decent tools and a keen attention to detail, it's so easy to end up with a frustrating experience that kills all the DIY Instagram sauna fantasy you had at the start. Although barrel saunas are absolutely a vibe and they're genuinely enjoyed by a lot of people, including some very high profile influencers, I decided not to sell barrel saunas at epicsauna.com. Like I said at the beginning, I've had really great sweats in barrels, and the friends I've had come over to use it all loved the sessions too. But when I look at the long-term durability, build sensitivity, maintenance requirements, and failure risks, I honestly believe that most sauna owners will be better served with other designs. Designs that are more forgiving to build, age more predictably, and give you a great experience without the worry about gaps, leaks, or structural quirks inherent to the barrel designs. If you're serious about getting a sauna you can enjoy for years that offers both vibes and long-term performance, I've handpicked what I consider to be the best of the best sauna kits on the market. Models that I'd happily own myself and would confidently sell to any family member. You can check out my collection at epicsauna.com. On the site, you'll find only models I actually recommend and that I know will be an excellent investment for the long run. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to know the controversial reason why, although I don't sell barrel saunas, I do sell infrared saunas, watch this next video.